What is up, everybody? We are back for our second live stream today. And the number 2 is a little clue as to what's happening today. We're going to be talking to Becki and Chris, originally scheduled for sometime last week. But, as life happens, there was an emergency that needed to be handled. But here we are. I want to tell you a little bit about Becki. She's born in Canada. She went to the College of the North Atlantic. She's a graphic designer, photographer, videographer. There's a lot of slashes there. Founder of Bold Creative, manages the Pixel and Lens Club, host of the Creatively Committed podcast. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And one half of Becki and Chris. And the other half is Chris. He's born in New Jersey, raised in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. He's a helicopter pilot, which is super cool. It's kind of like James Bond that way. He's a photographer, videographer, diagnostic and interventional radiologist, and he's the second half of Becki and Chris. Now, most people can't take pictures like this because, well, we don't have a helicopter and we can't fly one, but you guys know who they are. Becki and Chris, welcome to the future. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, Becki and Chris. Well, thanks for having us.
We're good. Thanks for rescheduling with us. Sorry about last week.
No problem. I just want to let everybody know this is a first for this channel. This is a first for the channel in that I think you guys are now husband and wife, right?
We are.
So we've never had a husband and wife team on the show before. It's very rare we get 2 people. Yes. This is fantastic. Sweet. And so naturally, there's all kinds of things that go on with husband and wife teams. Like, how do you guys do the work? How do you guys get along after doing the work? That kind of stuff, right? My wife and I, we're both graphic designers, and we used to work together, but that almost killed our whole relationship. And it's tough. So
really?
Yeah. How do you guys do it? I'm just curious.
I think it's easier that, like, both of us have a background in photography and video. But Chris works full time, so he's gone like most of the time.
We make it work by forcing me out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we don't actually we film stuff together, but we don't sit in a room all day, every day, and edit together. And I think that's where the difference is. And I am like the designer by trade, and Chris is like the video guy originally. So he's kind of the expert in that area. And so we kind of it's a collaborative effort, I guess. I talk a lot with my hands.
Make no mistake that you've kind of taken video under your own responsibility, and now you do it all.
I do. It's because you're a slacker.
Yeah, she's calling the doctor the slacker. It's a revenge of the creative nerds. I like that. This is lovely. Well, one of the things that runs into, I guess for me, I'm just speaking very personally here, some issues that I have is the role of changing your hat. Like, 1 minute we're partners, lovers, husband and wife, and the minute I'm the creative director and you're the designer, and that becomes very problematic for us. Has that ever been a problem for you?
It's really interesting because where I do it, what are you laughing? Why are you smiling like that?
No. Hey, you get to say what you want. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
No. You have to say. You start saying.
Becki,
I'll tell you afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start.
Yes.
Okay.
Chris, DM me later. Yeah.
Yeah. What's weird is that now I'm YouTube full time right now. So everything that we do that revolves around social or creativity, it's kind of like my job, and it's fun. I love it, but it's a job. And for Chris, YouTube is a hobby. So sometimes it's really tough when we know we have to get up a video. And I've been working all week and I don't really want to film on the weekend. Yeah. And that's our only time to film together. So it's a bit challenging. What are we going to see? I can see a very subtle smirk happening.
I don't remember what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you go ahead.
Well, the original question was, how do we get over creative differences?
Right.
I don't know if you really answered that question.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Well, we actually don't often have creative differences, because we're actually very lucky to be on the same page with most things. Mm-hmm. And most of the creative decisions she comes up with, because she's just, I guess, blessed with that gene.
Well, I think I'm in it.
Yeah, you live it.
Often,
yeah.
So.
And so it's very nice for me because I can just be kind of like on the side. She comes up, she's like, hey, what do you think of this mood board? I put this together, whether it be for a branding project of ours, whether it be home renovation stuff, whether it be anything really, video. I was like, oh, wow, that looks great. Sometimes I'll make suggestions from my own ideas, and I think she has the hardest job only because not only does she has to come up with the ideas, but she also has to gently tell me my ideas suck.
Your ideas don't suck. You have great ideas.
Maybe we can't do that, but I like that you're trying.
Like the other day when you were like, can I put up a drone montage video on YouTube? And I was like,
yeah, I want to put up a drone. I like flying my drones, Becki.
I know you do.
So is she sometimes the gatekeeper of like what is actually produced and not? I mean, my wife.
She was 100%.
Oh, okay, so 100% the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we collaborate on it, and we ping ideas back and forth. But ultimately, it's her vision, and because branding's always been something that's very important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you started off as a graphic designer, I guess technically by trade, and so branding was pounded into your head, and you just kind of taken that to the nth degree and put it into everything we do, whether it be our YouTube channel, the color grading of our video, the titles, all the other, I guess, pieces of media that we put together with it, interior design, which you don't have formal training in, but you just enjoy, to the Instagram feed being one sort of similar theme. It's all branding.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, you're in it all the time and you have like a format and a look. And when it goes a little bit outside of that, you kind of have to like reel it in a little. But I don't know. I think we're pretty much on the same page for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally tell.
I guess not being a designer, it makes it easy for her because it's not like we have equally valid opinions. She's not giving me medical advice, but we're not like disagreeing on things that we're both professional at. Your
designs are cute. Thanks. One time you did design a stethoscope t-shirt and forgot to put the other side on it. It's okay.
It's a new style. You only need to listen in one ear.
That's right.
Stethoscopes are so old school anyway.
Well, one of the reasons why I asked that question is like, how do you switch roles? Because it's not so easy. Like, do you guys go out, say, for dinner, and it's supposed to be like it's date night for the two of us, and then Becki's thinking about, I got to get this shot, or Chris is thinking about doctor stuff. I don't know. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, like switching roles. And that's the one thing that was very difficult for my wife and I. Thankfully, we're still married, but back in the day, I had to make this decision. Like, if we worked together, we might not make it. So I would rather keep the relationship, because sometimes I would say like, can you change this thing? And then she would look at me like, you're not my boss. Like, no, technically I am, but wait till you get home kind of thing. It's like, shoot, okay, I better not do that. So do you guys ever have that kind of thing that pop up or no? I don't want to create friction where there is none.
I think when we started our YouTube channel, we started off like documenting everything. And after a year, we realized that we were taking the camera everywhere constantly all the time, filming everything, whether it was like us going out for dinner or us going on an adventure or us in the car. And then it became so, I don't know, it was a lot, I think. Yeah. And it was like every moment was on camera and we weren't spending a lot of time together. So at one point, I think we were just like, let's be more strategic about our videos and what we're shooting, and then set time aside for that, even if it's like within an adventure. If we go, say, snowboarding, for example, we want to make a video, like, what is the video about? These are the shots we're going to get. And now let's put the camera away and enjoy the rest of the time together. But again, it's Chris's hobby. So I feel like you don't really mind having
I don't really mind
working or talking about it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty cool then, because both of you guys like to shoot and make content for YouTube. So they're really, you kind of like are on the same wavelength. So that's really cool. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that you now do YouTube full time, whereas it's for Chris a hobby. I just want to focus on you for a second, Becki. Like, how has this become your full time endeavor? Like, because I know in the past you would do marketing stuff, you would do brand videos, a bunch of other things, logos, identity design. How have you been able to transition away from creative service work to just doing content creation full time?
So it was actually interesting. It kind of worked out in a weird way because in 2016, Chris and I moved to Vancouver because his job took us there. And all of my clients in my business were in St. John's, Newfoundland, where we're from. So I'd been freelancing there for like 10 years. I had my clients and stuff. And when we were forced to kind of move away, it was like, okay, I can't be in the moment. So I can't shoot these things for my clients. I can't, be there for the meetings. And we kind of tried doing stuff, through text, email, FaceTime, whatever. And then we started YouTubing at the same time we moved, just to kind of document our year. And after 6 months of putting out videos, I was kind of like, I don't really want to freelance anymore. Like I wasn't feeling it anymore. And I think it's because it was so long. We were doing it for 10 years, or I was doing it for 10 years, that I was kind of, I feel like I wanted like a different, to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we just started making videos. And then 6 months later, we moved to Buffalo. And through the immigration process, I had to close my business. So I couldn't freelance. It was like, you can't move to America. Yeah, it was like, they were very strict about it. They wanted like proof that the website was shut down and proof that I had sent my clients like the final, goodbye kind of thing. So I ended up having to get a part-time job down here when I moved, but I was working from home, which was good. So I gave up my clients. We moved to Buffalo. I was working part-time, and I went all in on YouTube at that point, just like posting once or twice a week, and just trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And you mentioned Creatively Committed earlier, and we'll talk about that later, but kind of just trying different things and seeing what worked and seeing what didn't work and seeing what was sustainable and what wasn't. And then over the 2 years that we were in Buffalo, my part-time job is no more. And so now I'm full-time making internet videos, which is like.
But we couldn't really monetize while you were.
You're right.
Here at the beginning with YouTube, just because of the immigration issues, because you were here on a TN visa, which is a temporary work visa.
Right. So I was kind of forced into not being able to freelance, not being able to make money from anything. So it was kind of, I could kind of do whatever I wanted with YouTube because there was no pressure.
Well, it was literally just making videos with no commercial incentive. It was just whatever you want to make, you can experiment, figure out the kind of content you like making.
Right. And
then once the time came when you got your green card, then it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, now you can do whatever you want. You can own this. You can work for another person if you want. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
And now you've had this audience, which
that's the thing. Like within that time period, it allowed me to grow the channel to where
in an organic
way without relying on, sponsor content and things like that, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it just worked out that when I got my green card and I was able to monetize, we had a larger audience, which made it a little bit easier to kind of transition from, working part-time to
This is fascinating because I didn't realize. Okay, so Chris, you're an American citizen, right?
Yeah, I have dual citizenship.
Dual citizenship. You can work anywhere, do whatever you want. And Becki, you're Canadian, so I guess one of the requirements as if you move to Buffalo that you can't earn money in America. Is that what they're saying? Essentially?
Pretty much. Yeah. At the time, I could only earn money from the one job that I have that allowed me to get the work visa that I had to get into America.
I see. Oh, that makes sense. I get it. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what you did. And then now you got your green card. Everything's cool. Now you can do whatever you want. So in that period where you couldn't earn money besides the one job you had a lot of freedom. You had the freedom to try, to experiment, and just to make things that you cared about because there couldn't be any financial incentive for you, right?
Right.
So what did you learn in that process? Like it sounds very liberating to not to worry about money in a way. Because you can't, right? And
that's
then
right.
What did you do? What did you learn in that process? I'm curious.
Well, I think like I mentioned earlier, like experimenting with different types of things. Like we started the Facebook group, which was successful. Then I tried starting a podcast, which wasn't successful. But the YouTube channel kept on growing and was consistent. That was like the one solid thing that I knew was going to work. So it was just kind of like the ability to play with different ideas, try different things, venture off and make little side brands that revolved around our YouTube channel. And just kind of like play with it. But I think too, I think when we were in Vancouver, this happened, but I think getting the work process, I'm kind of like lost for what you would call that words wise, because I haven't spoken all day, but but when you get into the schedule of making a video every single week or 2 videos every single week, it starts to become sustainable because you better your skills and it becomes easier and, your list of ideas continues to grow. So I think that I learned that I can put out a video a week and I can, if I work hard, improve my skills or continue to improve my skills. Yeah,
your first video took like 40 hours to edit.
And it was a piece of shit.
Which is not really a sustainable weekly thing to do on the side.
Right.
especially like if you're not getting paid for it.
Well, that's
like that's 40 hours a week is like a normal full-time work.
Yeah.
Actually, it took 55 hours.
Okay, 55. my mistake.
But yeah, well, I mean, it was like after that video, I was like, I want to do this, but this isn't sustainable. I can't do this. I can't put up a video once a week if they're going to take 55 hours. So I just said, like, I'm just going to do it one a week for 4 months and see if it's sustainable. And I ended up doing it and got my time down to like 25 hours per video.
Which is still probably 5 times the number of hours that a lot of YouTubers spend per video.
Right.
Maybe, yeah.
But here's the thing, though. You could theoretically even take 100 hours to make one video if that video performed really, really well. See, like, I'm not a gambler. I'm not a gambler. I don't want to take the whole everything that I've got and put it all in one in case it doesn't work out. I like to make small, educated bets. And so I think that's what we're talking about here, where the length of time that you invest into something has to be proportionate to what you expect to get from it, right?
Definitely.
Okay, and so
slow and steady wins the race.
That's right.
Spoken like a true half Asian brother. I'm just gonna tell you right now. There's some old school like parenting going on right there. It's like, yo, just stick to it. What is it? The hare and the tortoise. The tortoise wins the race. Yeah. Slow and steady. All right. Just gonna
diversifying brings honor.
Jesus.
Okay, Becki, forgive us for a second. It's not that often we get to do this kind of stuff. Okay. So just
it's all good.
Should we switch places? Then we'll have an Asian gradient.
I'll just leave. Oh man.
No, right now it's an Asian sandwich. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. Okay, so Chris, now for you, it did seem like you were doing. Oh, I shouldn't say this. From what I could see, you're doing YouTube. You're documenting this whole journey about medical school, the whole bit. But this passion with video, does this come before the idea that you want to be a doctor, before your parents inceptioned you into being a doctor, or after?
It's interesting enough. So I was one of those kids that was annoying and said, I'm going to go to medical school when they were 8 years old. And just ended up following through
You're
with
that
it.
guy.
So I'm that guy, yeah.
Yeah, we hate you, by the way.
Interestingly enough, my parents, I'm probably like I'm third or fourth generation. So I'm as white as they come, and my mom's just as white as I am, despite her being full Chinese.
Okay.
So she kind of is. Her parents kind of had more of the traditional cultural values that typical Asian families have. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of removed from that. I mean, she definitely stressed the importance of getting good grades through school. I know there was at least 1 or 2 threats of not having Christmas if I got any B's. Just to get that meme, B+ on blood test, failure run through veins. Oh, that resonated so hard with me. Yeah. But no, they actually told me, because I got into video. I used to shoot BMX videos when I was in high school and up into university, and they saw how into video I was, and they actually took me aside when I was studying for the MCAT and said, "Look, Chris, I know you're working really hard to get where you want to be, but just know that you don't have to go to medical school. You can, you're really into film and video. That's a viable career option if you really wanted to pursue that." And at the time, I was doing it as for a business to kind of fund my camera habit so that I could have cameras and equipment to film my BMX videos. So I was already doing other people's work then, and I realized I absolutely hated doing other people's work, but it was a means to an end to get the equipment that I wanted to do my own projects. So from then, I really, at that point, I said, no, this is strictly a hobby of mine. And I left it at that. And that's kind of how it all happened. So despite having an full Asian parent, she she didn't pressure me in any way to say you have to become a doctor or you're a failure kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Let's just check your Asian credential card right just for a second. You're a 4th generation Asian American, the whole bit. You're like, no, I wasn't indoctrinated in the club, but you're like super responsible, overachieving. Driven, you want to make money, you fly helicopters, you're a doctor. It's like, no, you have none of those faults of the stereotypical Asian person. You're totally clear. I
love math too.
We love physics also.
Yeah, physics is a lot.
Okay.
It's what got me into helicopters.
I told my wife, who doesn't know anything about you, that you guys are going to be on. I'm like, guy, I'm watching his videos and I hate this guy already. I just hate him. He flies helicopters. If he does martial arts and shoots guns, he would be James Bond. It's like, oh, we're just going to go helicamping, you guys. It's like, what? I don't even understand that. It's like, okay, tell me you don't do martial arts too.
I have done 1 class of Taekwondo, and then for some reason I ended up in gymnastics.
He used to do gymnastics.
So I can do flips, but I can't.
You can't do much with it. Okay. Yeah. You flip your way out of the fight. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Another thing I was telling her, I was like, God, I look at the photos. It's so gorgeous because you guys get to like fly by icebergs and land on remote areas, and it looks so amazing. And the first thought in her mind wasn't amazing photography. What an adventure. It was, that sounds so scary. A helicopter, it's like that thing goes down, you guys are done, right? And it's a little one.
Yeah.
It's a little
terrifying.
One. But you guys do it anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, if anything goes down that you're riding, and it's you're probably gonna not have a good outcome.
Well,
people.
Well, you know,
Sorry,
if there was a plane and has two engines, I understand planes can still fly with one engine up, right?
And I guess it depends on the weight and balance, but sure, yeah.
In theory, and
you get twin engine helicopters, just like you can get single engine planes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you're saying you're not that daring?
We're definitely. I'm definitely. She's the risk averse one in this relationship.
I'm the voice of reason.
Yeah. So I told her. So I think we ground each other. I told her I wanted to do an aerobatics helicopter course.
Oh my
like
gosh!
A weekend course.
My
gosh.
I
mean, think about the awesome video we make. I'm gonna loop a fucking helicopter. Am I allowed to say that?
You
said, wow, you have a bigger potty mouth than me tonight.
Yeah. And she's like, absolutely. That was the fact that we don't get in fights often, but that was probably the last fight that we got into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The you are crazy, and how dare you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
You can't do that. Think about your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have responsibilities.
Think about me.
Yeah.
Think about me.
It's not all about you, Chris.
So selfish of you, Becki. You just want to loop a helicopter. Come on.
It's just not Becki. It's Becki and Chris. What's going to happen to you if you pass away?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
Well, you've already cut me from the Twitter name, so.
Well, you know what? Because for you, it's a hobby, man.
It's
Right.
true.
If you don't put in the time,
to the YouTube channel,
you're done. That's the
I
way
know you
it
didn't want to
works.
put friction into our relationship, but I'm feeling a lot of friction here.
Look, I can't invent friction. I can only point a spotlight on it. Okay, so for everybody that's joining us, there's a lot of fans and happiness and good vibes. We came off a rather bumpy live stream, talk about turbulence, and I just want to let everybody know, because since there are two Chris's, one full Asian, one half Asian, if you guys just mention me by Doe, just D-O, and the other one as Chris, that way we know which Chris you're talking about. So I'm going to assume all the positive comments are for me, all the negative ones are for Dr. Chris. Just use Doe and Chris. That way we know who the heck you're talking about.
Oh my God, always, whenever I'm in a situation with those two Chris's, everyone just calls me Asian Chris. Oh. And we can't do that now.
Well, you could also call him lazy guy because you answered a lazy guy too.
Sure.
Yeah.
It became a meme in our relationship.
Oh my God. It was like the funniest moment. Somebody, we made a video. It was like we were making over our office or something. And somebody commented, damn, that's a lazy guy.
I just gotten home from work. I had a really long day, and I was just slumped in the corner of the wall. And you're asking me a question. I'm like, yeah. They're like, damn, that's a lazy guy.
It just stuck. And so now, like, yeah, you're a lazy guy.
Yeah, that's the thing now.
That was probably just sarcastic, right?
I don't know. I think it was legit.
Yeah,
oh, okay. All right. Matthew Encina, who unfortunately can't be on the show today with us, he's on vacation, but he's still texting me his questions right now. Matthew, enjoy your vacation.
I'm on.
Oh, there you are. You are. So Matthew, go ahead and ask your question now. Yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, first of all, big fan. Totally idolize you guys, especially for the interior design stuff. I jock everything you guys.
He does. I'm backing that up right now.
For sure. Yeah, so I think the interesting thing about both of you is that I feel like I only learned about you guys earlier this year, maybe late last year. And I think a lot of people are just starting to see who you guys are now. And you guys have amazing videos, amazing quality. But I know that prior to this, you guys have had a long journey to get to this point where now people are recognizing you for the skills that you're doing. And I guess my question to you guys is, how did you find the persistence to keep doing this? And I don't know if this is more for Becki or if this is for both of you guys, but why did you guys decide to keep doing this even after trying so long?
When you say this, do you just mean online content, YouTube videos?
Yeah, the content. Because I saw that video that you guys made. It's like, it's okay if you suck. And like your first try is going to suck. Your first 100 tries is going to suck. So I guess I'm just asking for a lot of people who are very seasoned at doing this thing, right? Like creative anything, creative expression. They've been doing this for a long time, let's say a decade. and they still quite haven't found their way, and they're feeling like they're about to give up. Like, I'm not gonna make any breakthroughs, where you guys, seems like you guys have been doing this for a long time. You guys are making some great breakthroughs now. Maybe I'm just looking for words of wisdom, or what your feeling is around that. Like, why were you able to persist for a long time through that?
I think for us, like when we started our channel, it was more so to document our one life in Vancouver. 1 life, 1 year, one life.
You get one life, Becki.
You got one life.
Use it wisely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was to document the 1 year that we were in Vancouver, and the videos at that point were never really for anybody but ourselves, which is why we started out of the gate vlogging. And I think over time, I don't know, it's nice to have kind of like almost like a catalog of your life. Are we still on?
You're still on. Don't worry about it. Ignore that. Yeah, you're still on.
Okay,
Everybody still
cool.
sees you. Yeah.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure because there's like a blue window. Yeah, so I think for us, when we started, it was like more so for ourselves. It was to document the year. It was to have like kind of like a timeline of our life. And for some people, it happens really quick, like growth or recognition on YouTube. And I think we just kept going, just making videos for us. And yeah, I think it was never really about the numbers for a while for us. It was just about making stuff we loved and documenting our life.
Yeah, it depends on what you consider success, because a lot of times people equate numbers, subscribers, followers, likes, views, whatever, as success. And generally there's a correlation. People who are going to have more numbers and more views are going to probably be further along in their craft than someone who doesn't. But there's not a perfect correlation. So if someone's looking for success in the form of numbers, then you almost have to kind of back up a second and sort of reevaluate what your definition of success is. And maybe if you're only doing it because you're looking for numbers, then it's kind of a reality check that's probably not the best motivation. But if you're just creating work that you're proud of and that you enjoy and that you're continually advancing and perfecting and progressing with, then I think that's a better marker of success. You could use the same surrogate of, I guess, an older tried and true surrogate of success would be financial compensation, which again isn't really a good generally marker for success, although I think most people would equate it with that. But regardless of what you're using as your metric, if something's not working for you, I think you said the other day, just got to pivot and change up, use your experience, build upon it, but just change your angle a little bit. And
well, I think it depends too on like what the platform is and what the purpose is. And if the purpose is to just create things and document your life and just really enjoy it, and it's not necessarily to grow a channel or to make it into a business, and I think it's fine to just kind of benchmark yourself and look back at your work, and you see growth in your own skills, but maybe not necessarily numbers, and that's okay. But if you want it to be a business and you want to start making money at it, then that's when the pivot might need to happen, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer too in that everything that you do, whether it leads to a commercial success or not, there's still probably there's still probably value in it. We have so many, we've been doing this for a lot longer than people probably realize. I've been shooting videos since 1999. So I guess 20 years now.
How old are you?
2 decades. I'm
45.
Older than most people think. Asian genes, see? Asian genes.
The half was working for you.
Thank you, mother.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been shooting videos since 1999, and you a lot of times people have DM'd us with very similar questions, saying like, oh, I'm getting discouraged because I've been doing this and I haven't seen any growth on my YouTube channel.
And it's hard though. It is hard when you don't see the growth.
It is hard because if your only motivation is, again, using that metric of views, subs, whatever, then it's very discouraging because everybody starts off with a little rumble, and it just takes, it's very hard to kind of get it to catch.
Yeah.
Once you start getting a steady groove of things, you start, okay, I can see a consistent growth I'm now kind of locked into the algorithm. Then it can be a bit more motivating, but it's very hard to kind of get that initial push.
Yeah, but I also think it takes time too to figure out what you like and what you want to be putting out there. Because when we started, it was vlogs, and nobody really cares about people's vlogs unless they're invested in you as, or if you're bringing value type thing.
Yeah, vlogs is something that everybody can do because everybody has a life that they can document, but it's such a hyper-saturated area. And honestly, most people just don't, unless they're vested in your channel because they know you and they feel like they're part of your life. It's a catch-22. They're not going to want to sub because they don't know you, but it's how are you going to get subs if no one's watching you, but no one's going to watch you if you don't have subs, kind of thing. It's right. So it's like the whole thing with the job. Like, how can I get a job I don't experience, but you need experience to get a job type thing. Mm-hmm. But I digress. What I was getting at was that, everything that you do, whether it be, a stint where you kind of dabble in audio for a couple months, or you are, you take an offshoot, maybe your main thing is video, but you take an offshoot in photography for a few months. It's all knowledge that can be used in future endeavors. And we have so much random knowledge. Like you and I know how to screen print t-shirts, mm-hmm. just because we had a screen printing studio for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Which actually came in useful when we were doing a DIY home renovation contest, and we're like, oh, we'll DIY screen print our own napkins. So we pushed the squeegee, a little homemade squeegee made from a piece of wood, and literally bought silk from a fabric store and stretched it over a frame, literally like DIY screen printing. And that was just a random skill that came up. So the point I'm getting at is that your skills that you develop over time will ultimately create who you are, what your overall assets are, and what you can accomplish later on. And like I said, we have 20 years of experience, and it's only sort of culminating into what we are on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said a couple of things, Dr. Chris. You said don't measure your success by likes or comments or subscribers. Maybe don't measure success by fame or money. Shoot, we're starting to run out of things here. So is it a matter of, like, what is success to you? Like, how do you measure success, especially in these early days?
Oh, 100% money. I'm saying I don't have to follow my own rules here. No, I'm just kidding.
For other people, for other non-Asians, don't worry about the money.
No, I think that and I fall into the same traps as everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have two of us because we can balance each other out. If Becki posts a video and all of a sudden it's got more dislikes than the normal video at that time, I can tell her, look, it's like, this is what it looks like. The statistics look like this. It's random. There's a noise inherently built into all of these numbers. Just your tick. It's just look at the big picture. There's steady growth in our channel. Most of our videos are averaging this many views. That's more than we would ever have dreamed of 1 year ago. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, okay. And then likewise,
I see.
If I'm looking at the same numbers and like, oh no, this month we only gained this many subs, she'll be like, dude, that's more subs than we had like when we started in the first few months. So it's like, don't worry about it.
In the first few years, probably.
First few years, yeah. Because the growth looks like this. It's exponential. It's logarithmic is what it is.
Yeah. I think Casey Neistat did a video on this. He talked about like how he hit 10 million views, and that was easier than getting 1 million views or 1 million subs, and then 100,000, then your first 10,000, then your first 1,000. It's really hard at the beginning. There's not a lot of reason to do it because you have like no momentum. So you have to kind of find it within yourself to tell yourself a different narrative. And I like how you're saying you're taking a longer view. It's kind of like investment, like in the stock market, right? You don't want to be a day trader.
My man, slow and
always
steady.
Right back to it. You don't want to be a day trader. You want to be a long-term Warren Buffett kind of investor. And you're like, hey, yeah, it took a little dip here, but it's going back up. And it generally is trending in the right direction, right?
Just put it all in index funds as early as you can and just forget about it.
Right. Forget about it. There you go. That's actually very sound financial advice because, no, truly, because, the index funds usually outperform the smartest financial investors. It's really crazy. So, but we're not turning this into an investment show.
It's just using time on your side. If you got time, then that's your biggest asset, man, is time.
Okay. So, but my marker for success, especially now, is really about freedom. The ability to do what you want. And I think at the end of the day, if you have good health and you have enough money, whatever enough means to you, really all of that is so that you can do whatever it is whenever you want. So before Becki was saying like, hey, I didn't have to worry about money. So in a way that was her freedom, even though it was kind of imposed on her, but she took a very positive way of looking at that and just made content that felt right for her. Now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the whole vlogging thing. You guys are actually really good at that, and you're right. So many people can vlog and anybody can do it, but maybe their story's not so interesting or it's hard to like break free from the noise. I find it very uncomfortable to vlog. It's so uncomfortable to hold that camera in front of your face all the time. I'm super self-conscious. People look at me like I can't even talk. I cannot hold that thing and talk because it feels like, who do you think you are, Chris Doe, holding that camera out there like you're somebody? Like, my God, if I don't have something to teach, I just don't want to turn the camera on. So
Dude,
can you give me some advice, please?
It's still so awkward.
No, come on, guys.
I'm sorry. It makes it so much easier when he's with
I was
like
gonna say, my secret is
together.
that if it's the two of us doing it, then it's
so
easier when there's two of us.
Right, because you're the videographer and she's the subject, or vice versa.
But even us holding a camera in front and filming both of us,
I see,
or even one of us just filming themselves, as long as the other person's there for emotional support, it's actually so much easier.
But the other thing, though, is that if you start vlogging, like you said, you're much more comfortable when you have something to teach. I think that the majority of our vlogs now, like, we try to add some sort of value, whether it's like a story or a teaching moment, and that makes it easier to vlog when you have kind of notes made for, you know, video or an outline.
It's purpose.
There's a purpose. Like, it makes it easier to vlog instead of being like, okay, now I'm at dinner, now I'm doing this, now I'm going to the bathroom. It's
because if you're thinking about people around you and they're all just glaring at you, and then of course anytime someone sees a camera, they go, oh, put me on the video, put me on TV, and then it's just like,
oh really?
My God, what's my train of thought? Yeah, it's very annoying actually. But I mean, you're in a public space, so what are you gonna do, right? It's their right to do that. But what Becki is kind of getting at or saying is having a loose outline of what you want to portray in the video, rather than just filming a million different things and trying to piece together a story. Just have kind of an idea. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is what the shots we're going to get. This is the key pieces of dialogue I need to string the story together. And it's not scripted, but it's loosely outlined.
Yeah, and that's something we kind of learned more recently. Like, when we started, like I mentioned earlier, we were filming everything because we were like, we don't know what it's going to be. We're just documenting. And now I won't take out the camera unless there is a purpose. So what is this video about? There has to be a purpose, a story, or a something, or, you know, boxing or something. And it makes it a lot easier to, like you said, string together a story. You have talking points just on your phone or whatever, and you could easily it makes it a lot easier to be on camera that way.
The way I think about vlogs from when we first started, it was just legit, just filming everything and stringing together what we were up to. And it served a purpose.
Documenting versus creating.
It served a purpose because, you know, we could say, hey, mom and dad, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
You know, here's what we were up to last weekend. But now the way I think about it is, even if we're just documenting us going and doing an adventure, I'd want our audience to learn something new from the video. It might be something random, because again, like with helicopters, we do helicopter videos sometimes, and they get very repetitive for Becki to edit. But they also, realistically, it's the same stuff over and over again because it's very methodical. You do all the same checklists. You have the same radio calls. Whether you're going to Toronto or New York City, it's going to be very similar. Similar views out the cockpit window, as far as the camera perspectives are concerned. But I try to say, let's incorporate one thing about flying that our audience doesn't know, and they can at least learn something. Like, oh, well, why do we do these certain radio calls, or what do we use for navigation? Are there iPad apps for that? And we'll talk about one random thing. And I think that's kind of a way to keep purpose in your videos and keep things fresh.
Those are actually very good tips. So you guys, quick summary here. It helps if you're there with somebody. It is awkward still for them, and I guess it must be awkward for everybody. So make it a little less awkward. If you have a partner in crime, a PIC, I think that can help. I think having a script or a purpose takes you away from being so self-conscious, like you're kind of working for yourself now and you have a job to do, and to always be looking for some unique, interesting angle that you haven't told 1,000 times before to make it more interesting. Very good tips there. And I also want to say to you guys, I think, I don't want to falsely quote who said this. Maybe it's Zig Ziglar. I don't know. But he says, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So all of you guys that are sitting there like, I don't know what to do, you got to just do something, because somewhere along the way, if you stick it out, you will get better. For sure, you will get better. Maybe you won't be like the next Mr. Beast, but you'll do better. You'll learn a lot of things. You'll gain some confidence. You'll learn how to communicate better. And I think those are good things to do. Okay.
Definitely.
But that's the problem, is that...
Oh, well, okay. Let me talk first. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was going to say, it's so true, because once you start and you keep going and you start doing it, the progress is so slow that you have to like look back at your old stuff and you totally fucked me up. Now I lost my train of thought. Well, anyway.
Okay. It was good.
You go.
If it comes back to you. Yeah, go ahead.
If it comes back.
Yeah. You just cut it off. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that, you made a reference to, you maybe not be Mr. Beast or Casey Neistat or whoever your, YouTuber of the week is. But I think the issue is that there's a lot of bias if you're looking to those people, because those are the people who have already made it. And by virtue of them having made it and being popular, you're going to see them. But what you don't see is the literally millions of people who are all at your level, but you're not seeing them because you're not at Casey Neistat's level. So
right.
It feels like you're very alone. It can feel like you're the only one who's not making it because you see all these guys blowing up on YouTube or whatever platform you're on. But just know that the only reason you're seeing them is because they blew up. It's this catch-22. And you don't see the literally millions of people who are doing exactly what you're doing, and people who are not going to maybe ever make it because they never realize that, and they just get discouraged and stop.
Yeah. I want to take this opportunity to read a few comments on the YouTube live chat right now. Say hello to Leo, my buddy Scott Valentine, who's here. There's 2 people in here who are watching at some god-awful time in the day. Mooner is saying it's 3:05 a.m. here, and Sagat is saying, dude, 3:35 a.m. here. So you guys are hardcore. Oh my gosh, they are staying up for this. So you guys have some hardcore fans, and I just wanted to say hello to them. Isn't that awesome? Kevin
That's
Marcus,
awesome.
how's it going? See, as soon as I say this, people start commenting. So David Coe is back for our second edition today. The best barbecue show. Okay, they're asking this question. I don't know what this means. How's the FPV life going? I don't know what that means, guys.
Okay, so FPV is
what is FPV? Tell me what it is.
Yeah, tell us what it is.
First person view.
Oh
shit. It's like the drones where you go into the Matrix and you wear the goggles and you fly.
Go into the Matrix.
Okay.
And so Chris got into flying FPV drones. So obviously he started flying regular drones first, then got into flying helicopters, and now he's become like obsessed with FPV. I don't know if it's because you really want like VR, and that's kind of the closest thing. Or I don't know what it is, but
I just think it's fun to fly these things like crazy.
You're like Superman, right?
And shoot gaps, fly through little tiny gaps, like do all the crazy stuff that I would love to do in a helicopter, but there's consequences when you're doing it in a helicopter.
You can't fly through the doors of a helicopter in a helicopter, Chris.
Challenge accepted.
Are you going to do FPV racing, like with drone racing?
So I'm not really into racing. My whole goal was to just basically put a GoPro on it and try to take as smooth, cinematic, high speed, crazy sort of aerial shots you can't get with any other means.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know
you broke so far. All of them.
Yeah, I mean they've all at least gone in water at least once.
We bought a new GoPro a week later.
Gone.
Yeah.
Crashed into a treetop and the GoPro got lost in the forest.
Every single one we own is completely smashed.
Yeah, that's all right. It's tools.
Hey, this is an opportunity for GoPro to sponsor both of us and send us some cameras.
Yeah,
don't you think? I'm going to just say, so GoPro, if you're watching.
Just go throw it out there.
Just throw it out there. You guys can send us cameras. We would appreciate it. Hey, somebody on the chat, super chatted, said Fly T-Paths, like, as a designer and YouTuber, he's like, this live stream is the best. So he's just trying to support us. Thank you very much. Okay. I know beforehand I asked you, like, what can I ask you about? And I'm going to be sensitive to this. I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be a full-time YouTuber. This sounds super exciting. I know all the kids in my neighborhood, friends with my son, all they want to do is be YouTubers. They want to play video games. They want to be a YouTuber. But is it a viable business? And I know you were able to transition away from doing client work. Now, just speaking for myself, in order for us to sustain what it is that we do, we have a whole team in production and rent and equipment. There's 12 of us here. There's a lot of little buckets that we have to put out there to collect a little bit of that money rain. How do you guys break it up? Like percentage-wise or speak broadly, whatever it is you feel comfortable talking about. I'm just curious, like, how can you support yourself, Becki, doing YouTube full-time?
Well, we do like sponsored like partnership videos. I feel like that's like the majority of it. But, you know, affiliate links and a bit of ad revenue, and we're trying to build like our own merch now, which is kind of a thing, which is fun as a designer, you know, designing all that stuff. Yep. But it's different than freelance, you know, because I guess it's like equally as risky, but as a freelancer, you don't have to have like an online presence to make money. Like as long as your portfolio is good, you can get jobs, you know, but with YouTube, it's like, there's just this weird thing where you have to have the numbers in order for people to want to pay you to do the things.
Right.
So it's a little more challenging there, but I think now we're at the kind of point where we can like play with some, you know, merch ideas and try to kind of pull in different revenue streams. So we're not just relying on doing sponsored videos. So we're kind of like looking at it more of like as a business now, versus just like being the YouTuber with the ad revenue. It's how can we try to make money and pull from other pots, as you said, like I said, merch, or starting little other businesses that are kind of side tentacles from the YouTube channel kind of thing.
Diversification, remember?
Thank you.
Diversity is honor.
Yes. Listen, I haven't spoken to anybody all day. I don't know if you get this, like if you're working at the computer, but my words just leave.
I talk to so many people all day. I just don't want to talk
to
anybody.
That's why you're so good at talking to people.
I won't go that far.
You're so good with the mouth noises thing, Chris.
Is this an ASMR podcast?
Oh, I knew it. I knew you were going to do that. I thought you were going to go ASMR. Because that's what you always do.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody be super silent. Go ahead, do your ASMR thing just for a little bit. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Are your triggers whisper voices or are they tapping? Oh my God. Anyway, so you mentioned something that I don't know if I agree 100% with.
Me?
You said that whether you're doing freelance versus the YouTube thing, it's equally as risky. I would venture to say that it's probably 10-1 more risky doing the YouTube thing than doing anything else freelance worth.
Really?
Well, it depends on where it depends on where your journey you're
right.
You estimate the risk.
Right. Because
if you're a person who has no design skill, let's say you're at stage 0, you just came out of high school, you've got, no skills outside of your secondary education, and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. I'm sure that if you could somehow tabulate a percentage of success, being able to make a full-time salary on YouTube versus doing it at, say, a more traditional job, any job really, the odds of making money on YouTube to make it to where you could live would be highly stacked against you. Mm-hmm. If you say, what are the odds of making a living when you have 150,000 subs or 170,000 subs? Well, then the odds are heavily in your favor at that point.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't have the audience yet, then it's very difficult because a lot of people are vying for that same type of thing. It's like you said, all the kids on your block want to be YouTubers and everyone wants to be a professional gamer. But that area now is just so saturated and it's so much more competitive. I've kind of used this analogy before, but it reminds me of the kids in my in school when you're in elementary school and they said they wanted to play in the NFL or NHL or whatever professional sports league. It's like, oh, that's a great dream. And yeah, it happens for some people, but your odds of you making it to that level is highly unlikely. And if I was a betting person, I would totally bet against you. I would short you on that one. But it's, if you said, oh, I want to be a engineer, it's like, yeah, there's a well-blazed trail for that. There's school for that. Yeah, you could probably, as long as you do the right things, you get good grades and you put the work in, you can become an engineer.
Yeah.
Nothing. So I think the odds, it all depends on where you are in your journey. And that will dictate what the actual risk is.
I guess it depends too, because I feel like looking at it from a freelance perspective, it totally also depends on your location, because with YouTube, your audience is the world, like the internet, but with freelance, if you live in a town that there's just no jobs, it's like you're not going to make money because there's no jobs there, kind of thing,
Hey, I want to argue on behalf of Becki on this one, even though she already relented and said, Chris, you win. Asian Chris wants to battle half Asian Chris on this one. I want a little bit of a debate.
Going down.
Here we go. I'm going to defend you, Becki. I'm going to say this. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, you said that being a freelancer is riskier than being a YouTuber. Now, if we take the long view, which Chris has already established is the best way to go. If the long view, in the moment, being an engineer or following the true path, the tried and tested path, seems like the less risky path. But here's what I think. And of course, I'm going to say this. I'm very biased in this, and that if you work for somebody, it seems like there isn't risk. You have a steady job. You show up every single day. But I think the risk is just invisible to you because the company has lower profits. They cut people. They shift in direction. They cut people. It's just you're not aware of the risk. And all entrepreneurship risk is inherent in true entrepreneurship. And so whenever you go out on your own, whether you're a freelancer or not, there's risk involved. And I think like this in that if you say you bet against these kids going to NFL, I would totally 100% support that because in the NFL, there are finite number of teams and spots for first stringers, second stringers, and third stringers. But on the wide world stage of influence and creativity and YouTube, there's an infinite number of ways to turn this hobby, this thing that we do, into a lucrative career. People have gone on to do comedy, one-person shows, to write cookbooks, and just there are so many opportunities. And we're living in a new time, I believe, where the rules of the past no longer apply, where you can actually create your own audience and build your own fame and influence, and then you can trade against that. It is a long view. It is not for everybody. Just because you say you want to do it doesn't mean that you can. You have to have personality, charisma. You have to have something to say. You have to have technical skills, artistic skills. But if you have all those things, I actually think now, to me, and I'm a parent of 2 Asian kids, I would say to them, going down that tried and true path is actually riskier. I would give them all their college money, and I don't even care if they graduate high school. And I'm saying this like full-blown 100% first-generation immigrant Asian, full influence with my parents, saying, I just don't see it. I'm trying to be as objective and business-oriented. I would give them all their money, go do something. All I would say is don't bet it all on one horse. Have a hypothesis. Have a hypothesis and make sure you have enough runway that you can fail enough times before you become successful. That would be my only advice to them, and I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, there's another quote I'm going to throw out there, is that if you think adventure is risky, try routine. It's deadly. So for me, it's like we got to go up. We got to try. We got to innovate. We got to try different things. So I have a question for you, just to tie it back. Chris, doctor, photographer, videographer, doctor. Money is important. It's not everything, right? If Becki blows his business up, it's doing like $10 million a year. At some point, do you feel like, hey, as far as being a doctor, I can only go so far? Or is it like, no, doctor, that's just my thing forever. If the money's not important to me, would you get involved with the business again? Or how would you make that decision? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I think people always say there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And that's true. But as far as from a time commitment, like I'm still involved. I don't give her all the credit now. No, I'm still involved. Like she said, when I come home, I'll help out with the videos. We'll film together. We'll do it all as a hobby for me. Our goal is to get her to the point where she's the breadwinner, quote unquote, of the relationship. I would love nothing more than for her to take in. And we know plenty of people on YouTube who are making way more than what an interventional radiologist would make.
Yeah.
So that actually is a collective goal for us, because I think that would be amazing. Because you oftentimes you voice insecurities about, you feel bad that, you make more money than us, and therefore it's, I feel bad spending your money. But it's not your money, my money. It's our money, and this is how we've chosen to live our lives.
Yeah. And
I think it'd be amazing if you came home and was like, oh, this year we made more than what your salary is, hot in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, great, that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, like this, I feel like this is the first time in my like creative career where I feel like I'm doing the thing that I want to do and that I'm meant to do.
Yes.
Because I liked freelancing, but I didn't love it. And I think there was more things about that I hated than I hate about YouTube. Like the only thing I hate about YouTube is when people leave mean comments. Really. And sometimes like when, obviously when stupid tech stuff happens and things crash and whatever. But yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like the
goal. My favorite thing is going in and block user from channel.
Yeah, I know you love that. But you told me before that, because I asked you a similar question. I said, like, if this blows up, would you leave your job? And you said no. You said that your interventional radiology is your life. This is your whatever. And this is like the YouTube thing could go away in a second. And you like the idea of having sustainable.
Yeah. And that's something else too, kind of getting back to the whole risk thing, and to the effect of what you were saying is, there's risk in traditional roles. And that is definitely true. And one of the things that I didn't really mention was that, you've got, if you're doing engineer, or if you say you want to be an interventional radiologist, and I have 14 years of post-secondary education under my belt to get to work for that. Whoa. There is a high chance that I remember starting my first year biology class, and there's an auditorium of hundreds and hundreds of kids or university students. And, by the end of my fellowship, there was 4 people in that program. So it's kind of like this just that giant pyramid that just gets whittled down. So yeah, there's lots of risk that you will not make it to. Yep. So there is risk in that. At the same time, let's say you make it big on YouTube and you're banking mad bills, doing whatever sponsorships, whatever, you got millions of followers, but relatively speaking, you can be the flavor of the week, and that career can easily burn out, just like a professional sports career might burn out in 3 years, 4 years. You could be the flavor of the week, and then all of a sudden next year, gone. Your channel's dead. you're not like, you're no longer getting views, you're not able to command the same brand deals, and you've already sort of, and I hope that you would put away lots of money from the lots of money you'd be making for that short period of time, because you could have to go back to doing a traditional job if it all falls apart. So I think that, it's skills are use it or lose it a lot of times, and especially in the medical community or field where you have licensing that has to be up to date. If you stop doing that, and say YouTube blew up, I stopped being a physician for, say, I don't know, 3 years, having to get back into that's such a licensing nightmare, and trying to
yes, I understand.
Diversity is one thing,
man. You're maybe more 100% Asian than I am here. It's like, oh my god, it's so conservative. Chris, let me speak to the white you, okay? Put the Asian Chris away for a second. Let me just speak to that. I'm probably going to get all kinds of trouble after this show in the comments, but okay, let me just say this, is that, my God, you're such a negative Nancy. It's like she blows up. It's like, this could all end, It's like, that's what like an old person would say. I mean,
it is,
you could lose your hands. I mean, what if your hands get busted or somebody pokes your eye out? I mean, all those what if scenarios could happen on both sides.
I got really good liability insurance for my hands.
But let's just say Becki hits it and it's like, you know what? We're doing 10 million a year, babe. You don't even need to make $10 million for very long for you to be able to be smart about how you invest your money into an index fund or something like that, so that she never has to work again. I mean, all of us want freedom. I think most of us, I shouldn't say all of us. Most
I
of
like
us
that answer. I'm going to
freedom.
steal that from now on. When people say like what's your market
for
success, I think freedom is, yeah.
Now, I do want to say this. I happen, and I'm going to acknowledge my privilege here. I do happen to live in a very high income neighborhood, and almost everybody that is wealthy in this neighborhood hardly ever works. All of them have used their money to make more money. And my business coach used to tell me this. It's like,
that's capitalism.
Well, it's like you're smart and you make money because other people need money. They need their companies to be funded. That's how the economy moves. And so if you have something that somebody else needs, you're able to leverage that. A lot of them buy rental properties, and they make money, and that's how they do it. And they're all just like sitting around like, Chris, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I'm the working stiff, I got to still show up at the office. I'm still going to go make my money. But for the people who have made it, who have enough money, their money makes money for them, and it's a wonderful thing to have. So there's a lot of ways around this, but I have to say that as a just purely business economics person, I understand you love the medical field, but if it were just about money, if Becki blew up, I still have to ask you, if Becki blew this thing up to $10 million, whatever it is, whatever that number is in your head, it could be 100 million, whatever, would you say, okay, look, I'm going to take a break from this medical thing for a bit?
I mean, everybody's got a price. Like if she all of a sudden
like when you're like, what's your price for you to lift an elevator button?
Yes, that's it. That's it. Hold his feet to the fire. What's your number? And then you're like, you know what, Dr. John, I got to take a break.
Well, it's interesting because I think that when you have a job where, and I'm going to really sound cheesy saying this, when you have a job where you're able to, so getting back to what people value and money being one thing, I think that the thing that people don't value is health. You don't realize how lucky we don't realize we take our health for granted. Even me, like even though I see it every day, it's like a privilege check when every day I see patients with cancer, with heart disease.
Sometimes people who are like my age or your age or your younger.
With these chronic medical conditions, like, oh my God, like you can't do the things. That's your freedom. And it's your time. Those are the two things: freedom, time. Health will kill both of those. So being able to improve people's health, that's a very rewarding thing.
I agree.
And not to mention that combined with the fact that, I got 14 years of post-secondary education.
Throw it all away.
And I don't want to just like throw it away to nothing. Because again, people.
But you know what that is, all right?
You could go part-time.
That's the sunk loss bias working.
It's true. It's true. And I try not to fall in that trap because, but I reserve that for people because there's plenty of people, believe me, that I see in my daily life that have that, you go through medical school, you're 7 out of your 14 years in, they think, oh my God, I've got to push through to the end because I've already sunk 7 years. It's like, dude, you're committing yourself to a life of unhappiness. Just do what you want to do and consider it skills that you gained as they'll part of you, as we talked about before. They're now part of your experience or part of you, and they'll serve you later on, even if you're not practicing medicine. But I true believer that I don't have any sunk cost bias there. But
you're talking so fast.
wait. Kevin Marcus Jr. is saying, don't dodge the question, Chris. What's the number? Stop being so evasive. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
What's the number?
I've told people, like, we drove by the billboards and used to see like $50 million. You could win that cold hard cash right now. And Becki said, like, would you retire? And I would say no. I'd still do. I'd probably cut back to part-time. Again, getting freedom and being able to have more time to yourself. That's
Can I be honest though? I feel like I don't think you could do nothing. Like I feel like you wouldn't be able to stop working and just because you're like the type of person who needs to have something all of the time. Like you work and then you come home and then you work more, like on house stuff or the YouTube thing. You always have to have a thing. So I feel like you would get like if you're like, okay, we're making this much money, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm just gonna, we're gonna do the YouTube thing. I think you would be so bored.
Yeah, I think that there's. I always feel like there has to be a purpose in what I do, but I do think that there's two types of people in the world, and it just depends on the outlook. It's people who making money is their hobby, and therefore they're going to try to make more money. Or there's people who, and these I'm trying to break down people who have egads and gads of money, but there's people who have who say have that windfall or are just really successful in business, and then the natural extension is philanthropy, just because they realize that they want more out of just the superficialities of life. And I feel like I have that in my job, and that's why I feel like I probably wouldn't quit. Again, I have no problem going part-time, and it's like, well, fly helicopters more often. That's kind of sick, or instead of, a
2007 model,
a budget 2007 model helicopter. Maybe I'd get one of those fancy brand new Bell 505s that are way out of my price.
Oh my God,
budget.
Twin engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, a single engine. But
So Kevin Marcus is saying again, 50 million, quit, full-time FPV pilot. There it is. LOL.
I don't know. I feel like maybe like 50 million is like the size of the economic footprint of FPV at this time. But ain't a lot of money in FPV.
I do want to say something because a lot of people think when we say retire, and I didn't use the word retire, but you did. When you retire, you have to do nothing. No, I think we all need to do something. We have to have a reason to live, to get out of bed. Otherwise, we die. That's it. If you're not busy living your life's purpose. So if you had all the money in the world and there's total freedom, I think you could do anything that you want. You could go to third world countries, be one of those Doctors Without Borders. You could document that. You can help people in so many different ways. We just wanted to know if there was a number where you're like, yeah, I'm going to take a break from this and I'm going to do something else. That's all.
It's interesting because I don't really think, it's not a realistic outlook for me. Like there's chances are we're not going to have a windfall.
Just say it. Like use your creative side.
You can have it. You can have it, Chris. Just say a number. Say a number for all of us so we can move on. Say a number.
$1 billion.
Oh, come on.
$1 billion.
Okay, we'll wait for 1 billion then. Okay.
Wow.
All right. That's enough pressuring on Chris. Let's move on to something else. Matthew, I think you're still on. If you're not, it's okay. I can read another question from Matthew. Yeah, here's one of his questions. What's the long-term goal for the channel?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a great question. We're just flying by the seat of our pants.
I know. It's funny because like if you asked me that question like 3 years ago, I would say like travel videos and just do travel.
No, well, if you asked that question 3 years ago, you said the goal for the channel would be to make an income.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you chose that you wanted to, that was, I guess 3 years ago, you were just doing it for fun more or less. But when you started it became part of your routine and you said, oh, this is something I want to do. I enjoy this more than client work. Your goal at that point was to make a living off of it.
Right. Yeah. So now that we are kind of doing that, I don't really know.
Now your goal is to make more money than me.
Well, yeah, that is one of the goals.
And you're using
it's not about money. It's just about the channel.
You're shallow.
No. Such a troll.
And you bring much dishonor.
You're the worst.
No. Okay. So Becki, just for you then. Just for you. When you say your goal is to make this your job, your income, whatever, what number does that look like to you in the next couple of years? Like, if you could make this kind of money doing YouTube all full time, you'd be like, dude, that's pretty good. What is that number? Can you say that?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you, because I feel like now, like any amount of money is pretty cool because I've never, you know what I mean? Really? I've never seen it. Like with freelance, it's like, okay, I know if I shoot this property and it's going to take me 4 hours, then I edit the photos, like I'm going to get this much money. And then that was kind of like in my head for so long. And now it's kind of like, oh, I can make a video and make a few bucks. It's still so new to me. So I don't really know what a realistic number would be, but
you don't have to be realistic. Don't let Chris influence you here. You can be totally unrealistic. You could be anything you want to be, Becki.
I don't really know. I just want to have a good time. I just want to like love working on stuff and experimenting with things. And yeah, I don't know.
I get your goals are back to what Full Asian Chris was saying about freedom. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to not be forced to take gigs because you need to snatch that money.
Right.
and you want to do things on your own terms. And that's kind of getting back to the whole freedom thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to try an experiment here. The internet might get mad at me. The experiment is this, the question I asked for Becki, Chris, can you answer? And then the question I asked Chris, Becki, can you answer for him? Because now I know why you guys are getting along. Nobody wants to answer any questions here. Becki, and when I say Becki, I mean Chris. How much money does Becki want to make that she's like, dude, this is pretty good. I'm surprised. This is nice.
I don't think she worries about it. I don't think she worries about the money.
Yeah. I don't.
She doesn't. She just
I just want to make stuff. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Yeah. Right. I think I don't want to think about the money too much, because what I'm afraid of happening is that I'm going to get so caught up in it that it's going to kind of take over, and then I'm going to hate what I'm doing. As soon as money becomes a priority, things kind of get ruined.
It changes things.
It changes things for sure. And it changed photography for me back, in 2011, 2012, when I was doing that full time. And, it was just like, okay, I need to take these gigs and I need to get paid and I need to pay my bills and, make the money so I could buy the new lens and the things. And I started to hate photography because I was using it and I was like milking it to try to pay my bills, and it kind of ruined it. Right. And it's kind of happened with design as well. So I don't want that to happen with this. Like, I really love it and I really want this to be like a sustainable career for me. So I'm trying not to do the things that I did when I was freelancing.
I see. Okay. That's fair. Kevin knows a lot about you because he said Becki wants to make enough money to buy lattes on a small part of Newfoundland. I think somebody watches a lot of your channel, your content, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have some land and build a little cabin.
We had Crown Land applications submitted to buy land, but then we ended up not back in Newfoundland.
That's like my next project after this house is done, I'd like to build a little cabin in the woods.
You'd like to branch out and kind of have another offshoot of our brand to be rental properties, like short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Where you do you design it. It's a cool setting. You design it way
everything, like design the whole property,
the experience.
Sorry. Instagram moments.
Like a little hashtag, little brand, kind of create a whole thing around it, and then make it like into a destination. I think that would be cool.
Be awesome. I think that taps into a lot of your skills. You can blog the entire experience, share resources, educate a group, help you make money, help them make money. I would love that. How much money do you need to be able to start that dream?
I don't know. I feel like a couple mil probably.
Couple mil? Oh my God. For a 20% down payment?
Yeah, well, you want your down payment, and then I don't know. And then I guess buying all the finishings and hiring the right people to do the things, and probably not that much. I don't know. I haven't even really looked.
Takes money to make money.
That's right. Okay. Let's see what else here. So the long-term goal of the channel is to make a living, but we're not sure how much that is just yet. We're just working because we enjoy it. We don't want to.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like we're
we're
at a very lucky position where we don't need any income from YouTube.
Yeah.
We've been able to grow the channel strictly on our own as a hobby because of that. I'm a physician. I make plenty of money to support a family. We don't have kids, which is a huge suck for time and money, as you're probably aware.
And we also live in Buffalo, which is great because the cost of living here is a lot less.
So we're doing okay. Yeah. So from that standpoint, we don't really worry about what her income is or what it's going to be. We always say, it'd be nice if she made more, but that's more of I think it's like a self-validation thing rather than something that we need to make our dreams come true. Like, we don't really worry about what's coming in from YouTube.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's lovely. I think that's great. You said that you're lucky enough that you don't have to make any money from YouTube. I'm really lucky that I don't need to make any money from doing work. All our money comes essentially from being on the channel. So it's kind of interesting how we have similar goals and aspirations and where we find freedom and happiness. So for me,
exactly.
If I never have to work for another client again in my life, I'm one happy dude. Okay. Now we touched on this a little bit, but here we go. You guys are involved in so many things because as I was doing research on like podcasting, different channels, so many different things, 2 accounts, 3 accounts, a lot of accounts. How do you decide what to do and what happened to the podcast?
Okay.
Is that okay to ask?
Here's what happened to the podcast.
Yeah.
So I started this Facebook group called Pixel Lens, which is basically like a photo club on Facebook. So the Creatively Committed, which was a podcast, was originally a live show that I did in that group where I brought on creators, interviewed them, I'd film it. And the whole thing was that the group was able to be on live with us, ask them questions directly. And then later on, it would go on YouTube, and it was kind of an incentive for people to join the club kind of thing. So I started making these videos and posting them on YouTube. And then I thought, well, this is interesting and they're longer format. Maybe people would be interested in listening to it more as like a podcast. And then I realized how difficult it is and how not like it wasn't sustainable for me to be in a room with a creator, you know, multiple times a month to shoot this video, to do a Facebook Live, and then to put that on a podcast. So it just didn't really work out for us.
That sounds like a lot of work, to be honest. Yeah.
It was a lot of work. And Chris works, as we talked about, full time. So a lot of times it was kind of based on like dependent on his schedule, and it just, yeah, it was hard. And he really needed to be there to make it work, especially because we're filming. It's like to make sure that things are recording, the audio is okay and the light is okay. And then you're interviewing somebody and like you have a team right behind the scenes. Yeah. So it's kind of hard just to be like the one person running it. Yeah. So anyway, it wasn't really sustainable for us. So yeah. So
but you're going to start another podcast? You are?
Yeah, we're going to start another podcast, but it's going to be just us.
Right.
Because that's sustainable. We know we can sit in a room for 2 hours and shit on each other, basically. Yeah, so we're going to start a podcast in 2020. We've recorded 2 episodes so far.
22 episodes?
No, 2.
Oh, 2. Oh, I'm like, woo!
2. Well, we're not that good.
You're off by 1 order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Shoot. I have asked the people who are tuning in live if they have any final questions for us so that we can get them in before we kind of wrap up here. Before, I'm going to give them some time to think. I want to ask you, are there any questions or topics that you want to talk about?
Anything you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. I think we did, yeah. I'm sweating.
You know we're live. They just heard you say that.
Oh yeah, I have no shame. Somebody told me on YouTube.
You are.
Yeah. Listen, somebody told me on YouTube yesterday because I swore a lot in my video and beeped it out that I violated YouTube's violence and hate speech terms for beeping out my F-bomb.
I see.
So yeah, I don't care. It's all good. Yeah, I'm sweating and it is what it is. Is there anything you want to talk about though?
Covered lots of ground.
We did.
Any last questions from your audience there?
Yeah, there are a couple. I'm waiting. I'm just not seeing one that's like amazing. I have to ask you this. Well, let me ask you this question. This is a semi-trick question. What's a question I should have asked you but didn't?
I feel like we need the Jeopardy sound.
Dun, dun, dun.
I can find it.
Which half is my Asian half?
Oh my God.
You already told us. Your mom.
Oh no, I meant something else.
Your body.
Oh my God, this show we're gonna have to flag this show as something else.
Yeah, rated R.
The buzzer. Waked up Asian.
I'm on like another podcast with 3 of my friends, and I'm like, we need to rate it R+ because it's just so
filthy.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll just read some of the comments here. Azul is saying, love your hair, Becki.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Victor's like, I want to be a guest on your podcast. I don't know who you're addressing that to, Victor. Okay, so here's the question from Mooner. He's asking, how'd you guys meet each other and how do you build this chemistry that you guys have?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Mm-hmm. Chris and I have been together for 1,000,001 years.
Seems like it.
1,000,001, yeah.
Yeah, we met in high school art class, funny enough.
Yep, in the dark room.
In the dark room. Chris was in grade 12, I was in grade 10, and we were doing these like radiogram projects. And we were like the last...
It's maximum exposure in the dark room.
Oh my God. Maximum exposure when you ruin the entire stack of photo paper in the dark room. But anyway, yeah, so we ended up in there together, and there was flirting, and that was all that kind of happened. And then he wrote his ICQ number on my sketchbook, and you were late for volunteering at the hospital.
I didn't really volunteer at the hospital. I just figured she'd think that was hot.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Well played. Yes. Well played. Used the whole idea about the hospital to score points.
Then I had to go through it, and then I had to go to medical school.
Yeah, it's all my fault that you're
continue the lie.
You could have been a cinematographer.
Yeah, you could have. Yes. What you could have been. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I had to make up this story about how I wanted to be a doctor since I was 8.
Okay, this is a trolley kind of question. I'm gonna ask it. Nobody asked this. I'm asking it right now. Becki, you said this earlier where you love almost everything about YouTube except for when they hate on you. What are kind of the things that they say that are just like, ugh, I can't believe they're saying that?
What are your triggers?
God, I have so many triggers.
Give us a couple.
My biggest one is when people comment on my weight. I hate that. That's just not.
That's nice. Not cool.
No. I think the ones that really get me, there's two actually. When I make tutorials myself, photography and video tutorials, when people come on and leave really condescending comments towards me, whether it's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blue-haired, whatever, it's just, it's annoying. And then the second one is when people call us trust fund kids. We get that a lot. They're like,
because the helicopter and all that stuff.
Trust fund kids. Yeah. I know that's your trigger as well.
Yeah, it shouldn't be because, and I've had a lot of thought about this, and I've tried to analyze why I get so triggered. And I think it's because, and it all comes down to my gut reaction when I see something like, oh, trust fund kids, because the assumption is, oh, you look like you're 16 years old and you're flying a helicopter. The obvious,
right.
The obvious solution to this is, or the obvious answer to this is because your parents paid for it.
Right.
And where it's like, dude, I'm 35. I've done 14 years of school and I'm a physician and we've paid for this ourselves.
Yes.
But people, and then I feel like I'm having to stop myself from trying to explain that. But I don't owe that to anybody to explain where our finances come from or how we got to where we are. All the answers are in our videos. Go watch our videos if you want to know this, but don't just assume this. But then I realized, you know what, then it comes down to I thought about it a bit more. I was like, who cares where it comes from? No one can, let's say I was born into wealth and my parents bought me this. And it's, as long as I'm not an asshole about it and, you're just a nice person, then you can't help that you're born into privilege. Understand that you have privilege and there's plenty of people who don't. Try to, help that disparity a bit by just, being a nice person and recognizing it. But people shouldn't hate on you just because, if people hate on you because of what you have and what they don't have, that is just a definition of jealousy. And that speaks more about them than you. And I've been trying to kind of come to terms with that and not let things kind of trigger me. It's a roundabout way.
It's hard though. You always tell me not to care about the comments, but man, when somebody's like, damn, you got fat, it's like, that sucks. This is fucking
you
shitty.
Got fat?
You got fat.
You said pretty hot and tempting?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what Chris Tucker Rush Hour, I think.
You can blacklist words, but can you change words? Can we say it convert to thick or something? Is that a good thing nowadays?
I don't know.
I'm not down with the lingo of the kids.
Yeah.
I said, I'm 35 years old. I don't know what these kids are saying nowadays.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what else to ask you. There's plenty of comments to support you, Becki. So there's fans. They support you. You're not fat. You're amazing.
They all say you're fat. The best one was why you have no tits.
That was the best one. That became.
That was so out there.
That was so funny. I actually laughed so hard at that.
I don't think you got offended in the least.
No, I didn't, because I don't. But we it became this thing. Even in my friends here, we're just yeah, but why you have no tits? Just nothing that has to do nothing.
It's now an inside joke. It's now a meme in your friend circle.
It's lazy guy.
Yeah. Wow,
lazy. That's the other thing too. Is people always comment people love to comment about you in that respect, but then they comment about me being there's so many words I had to look up on Urban Dictionary because I had no idea what they mean. Every now and then some alt-right fuckers will come through on our channel and just spew a bunch of hate, and I'll have to Google all these words. It's soy boy. What is a soy boy? I was oh yeah, that describes me. I'm or beta male. It's well, if your measure of success is masculinity and traditional masculine traits, then yeah, I'm a beta male, I guess. But if you measure it by where you stand in society, then you're the beta male. So it's all kind of perspective. But then there's what's the other one? Cuck. I had to look at what cuck meant, and I was it doesn't describe me. But I see where you're going. You're trying to insult me because I don't adhere to your standard values of what you see as a masculine man.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. What does that mean?
So a cuck is a
C-U-C-K?
It's short for cuckold.
Oh, okay, yes.
And it refers to a person who enjoys watching their partner be have sex with somebody else because they get off to it. But I guess they've taken it and they've said, "Oh, well, you're such a pussy that you enjoy watching your wife get banged by other guys."
Wow.
And that's kind of like they're basically saying that you're a beta male or you're a soy boy, or it's just basically saying you're not masculine, and as if it's like an insult. It's like, dude, it's
wait, hold on. So you're a doctor. You fly helicopters. You land on remote, desolate places. Like I said, when I told my wife about you, it's like, this guy's like James Bond or something. I don't get this. Or maybe I'm a beta male. I don't know.
I think that we would both be called a typical beta male, but I think that it comes from very old school values. And if you don't look like your man's man, that is ripped and.
Hey, speak for yourself on that one. All right. I'm just kidding.
So I just kind of like. Well, fair enough, but yeah, all 140 pounds of me soaking wet.
I think you're perfect.
Yeah,
but thanks.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Okay. Okay. Wow, this was a wild, crazy, turbulent ride, ups and downs, left and right, and all that kind of stuff, just like a helicopter would be. If you guys are ever in Los Angeles and you want to produce some content, come by our studio. We're here. I know you guys travel a bit, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, come by.
Yeah.
And let's make some content together. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. And on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for being on this show, and for everybody who's staying up to whatever hour in the morning that you're up. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys want to find out more about Becki and Chris, here's how you do it. They're at Becki and Chris, but I guess it's more Becki and a little less Chris these days. And it's beckyandchris.com. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is it for us today. And I can't play the music. Come on, play the music. There we go. Thank you, everybody. Love you guys. Sustaining members, you know who you are. See you guys next time.